Spike's New Brother, Chapter 1. Spike's Fear. Equestria, a home to many who live in its magical inhabitants, like stallions, colts, and fillies. A place of magic, mystery, and wondrous sights that are beyond one's wildest dreams. A place where everyone is accepted first and judged later, and friendship is always given. One would think that such a magical and beautiful place would be considered paradise. Well, normally it is. Paradise to all except for one baby dragon. Well, not so much a baby anymore, more like a 13-year-old or maybe a teenager. Well, you get the point. Of course, we're talking about a certain purple dragon we all know and love, Spike, who lives with Twilight in the Golden Oak Library of Ponyville. Spike sighed. Jeez, it sure has been lonely in the library without Twilight the last few weeks. Well, she's not gone, but ever since we came back from the alternate world, that was a crazy adventure. Spike looked up at the sky, sighing again. It had been 3 years since coming to Ponyville. Spike, Twilight, and the others had been through so much together. First they defeated Nightmare Moon, then reformed her. They also went into the human world as people, Twilight became human while Spike was transformed into a dog. He didn't really like that part very much, except for when Rarity scratched his ears and called him cute. Then they had to give up the elements of harmony to stop some evil roots that Discord planned and forgot. However, that didn't stop the roots from nearly destroying Ponyville. But thanks to him, Twilight and the others managed to save everybody, and even after everything they went through, Spike let his mind wander to something else. We've been through a lot. I just hope that she doesn't forget what day it is. Spike was staring off into the distance in a daydream of sadness, and when suddenly he smelled apple pie, he leaped off the ground. Applejack? Applejack smiled to him. How'd you know it was me, little darling? Spike turned around to the yellow-colored pony and gave her a big smile and a big hug to match it. Spike replied jokingly, Who else lives on a farm and smells like apples when there's no apples around? Applejack only laughed at the remark, shaking her head slightly, realizing, well, he was right. Well, honey, you got me there. Spike pouted. What happened to calling me Sugar Cube? He asked. Isn't that what you usually say? Applejack, with a seductive yet playful grin, walked over to Spike, and she looked over him and giggled. Well, Spike, I can't always call you Sugar Cube anymore. Spike was taken aback. Wow, easy there, Applejack. I haven't grown that much to be receiving this kind of attention, especially from you. Spike began to turn bright red, nearly looking like a cherry. Applejack only rolled her eyes and shook her head in disappointment. Spike, I'm in shock that you haven't noticed how many young mares in Ponyville have noticed that you aren't little anymore, she responded. Applejack continued. Especially my sister and her 2 friends. Seriously, I'm surprised they haven't already... Spike? Hello? Spike? Spike? What? Spike said as he turned around. He was again distracted by another sad daydream. Applejack looked at Spike with worry, noticing how depressed he was. To tell the truth, she started attracting strong feelings for him, and he was quite the looker for being only the dragon in Ponyville. He was kind, loving, and dedicated. Any young mare would be honored to have him as their own, and many wanted him now, had he grown into a young teen. Spike, you know you can talk to me about anything, you know that, right? Applejack said. Spike realized that he was caught daydreaming and decided to confess. All right, it's about Twilight. I don't think... Spike paused. I don't believe she loves me as her brother anymore. At first, when he said that, he held back tears, but now buckled onto the ground, he began to sob. Meanwhile, in the throne room of Canterlot Castle, Princess Celestia was sitting on her throne. She levitated 2 pictures of Spike. One was a picture of him with Twilight before they left for Ponyville, while he was still a little small and chubby, and the other picture was of him after his growth spurt. Celestia just couldn't believe it was the same dragon that she had raised all these years. My baby has grown up so much, and I'm so happy for him, Princess Celestia proclaimed. I do hope he enjoys tonight. He deserves it after all. He's done so much for Twilight and the girls. She then had a look of nostalgia. It was not so long ago that he was the chubby, small dragon that always came to me when I called. Celestia chuckled at the memory. He was so short back then, and she remembered always having to bend down and nuzzle him. Spike had made me such a proud mother, Celestia stated. I'm so grateful for the spirits of old for giving him me as my child. Suddenly, Celestia frowned as she sighed. Before she drifted into thought, Celestia woke up from her daze. Sister, why does thou look so sad today? Is it not a happy day for you? What's the matter, my sister? Celestia looked away from the pictures to see none other than her baby sister, Princess Luna. Her coat was a very dark blue, and she looked very much like her sister, yet she was a shorter version of Celestia. Her mane was a light blue with shimmering specks, and the way it floated on its own in the air looked as if she was wielding the cosmos in her fur. Celestia smiled at her sister. Yes and no, little sister. I am happy for today. Spike has done so much for the main six, and has received very little in return. However, by this night's end, he shall receive what he deserves and more. I believe he has waited long enough, and so have I. Celestia looked down again at the photos, transfixed. But that also brings me to the second part of my point, which is very painful, and it fills my heart with dread. Do you mean the rumors of how Twilight and the others treated him over the last 3 years? Luna asked with a sad smile. Celestia's eyes only widened in shock and amazement as she only looked at her sister for a moment until she composed herself. Yes, replied the Princess of the Sun. I'm afraid that it has come true, though I hope they're only rumors, nothing more. When I gave Spike to Twilight, Celestia continued, I only did it so Twilight would have her first real friend and a brother. Some pony to stay at Spike's side no matter what happens. However, now I think I may have made a mistake. Luna had one eyebrow cocked up as she shook her head. She also had heard these rumors about Spike and the main six, in which they would leave him alone for a while they went through adventures without him. But the worst was that Twilight had not signed him up for school in Ponyville, and yet she knew better. After all, Twilight is the barrier of friendship, and she wouldn't do any of that. Or would she? Luna only smiled in response, then voiced her thoughts. Oh, big sister, come now. You overthink. I'm sure that the rumors are just what they are. Rumors, silly stories, nothing more. Luna headed for the door of the throne room, then turned to her sister. Come, we must be off to Ponyville, she called. I've sent letters to the others to meet Spike at the library. Hopefully Applejack is already there, keeping him busy. Here, let's go. As she finished, she turned to the left of the throne room, leaving the Princess of the Sun to her thoughts. Just then, she felt a tug on her heart like something was wrong with her son. It caused her to worry, and Celestia looked at the photos inside. I hope you're right, little sister. I hope you're right.